In this video, we're going to be putting on our design hats again and checking out where our game moment is right at the moment and figuring out what it is that we need to build next. And I can see by looking at the folder structure, Ben's done an excellent job of tidying things up here. Sometimes I like to leave him a little bit of a mess. Don't tell him this, just because I know he loves to clean these things up and organize things. So I do it just as a charitable thing because I know he loves doing that. He's also created, he mentioned to me something about a funny walk if I hold down the keys, and oh, that's fantastic. I love it. And what happens when, oh, bang. Okay, so this is all really ridiculous and quite silly. We'd never move that fast. It doesn't make sense, but you know what? It kind of gave me an idea. What if we have a bash move where you can just charge at players, charge at enemies and knock them around? And you know, on paper it sounds okay, but I did it just then. It was kind of fun. And if you do something in your build by accident or deliberately and it's kind of fun, if you show it to someone it's kind of fun, then it kind of, you know, maybe it should get into your game. It's something that, if it's good, keep it in there. That's the philosophy of prototyping. Okay, so at the moment, let me just restart this. So the guys have gone flying off. We've got a moment. We've got a little bit of terrain here. I see a couple of our enemies have gone and hidden themselves. Not a problem. We can drop them back in. What do we need next? What do we need to do in here to actually make it where it could be a combat moment that we could hand to someone and say, hey, play this. It's kind of cool. Play this and see if you can do something. That's our goal with the moment, is to get something playable as soon as possible. What do we need to do? And that's my challenge for you straight away. It's going to be a quickie straight onto the challenge is jot it down. Jot down what you need to do next. Write out your current implementation requirements. Have a look at your build and say, what do I think is the most important thing for me to implement next when I put back on my programmer hat? And you might have noticed so far that your designer hat, when you put that on, if there's just one of you, if you're solo, your designer hat kind of sounds a little bit Australian when you think about design, you know, crikey, fair dinkum, g'day mate, dingo. And when you put on your programmer hat, it sounds terribly more British for some reason, you know, shine your shoes, governor, clean your chimney, sweep, what up? So, you know, if that's starting to happen, it's a good thing. You're starting to differentiate when you put on your two different hats, if that makes sense. So, excellent. Take a moment, write that down, and then I'll come back and show you what I'm going to recommend we do for the next part of our game. Okay, and welcome back. And of course, I didn't properly update my little note down the bottom. As Ben has mentioned in his videos, we're both getting better at that to guide you guys on where we need to go next, where you need to go next. Let's have a look at our mind map. I've said before, you guys don't have to make a mind map. You can be doing this in a spreadsheet or a document. For now, it's about fast. You need to be getting features in. Don't spend too much time on design. Let your brain be thinking about it, but don't be over-documenting at this point. I'm going to show you guys some magical documents and schedules and our Trello board, all that kind of stuff coming up soon, but not just yet. Now we need to be moving forward with getting momentum with our combat moment. So I've put in a bunch of player character movement. I'm going to look in combat, see what I've got in there already. Basic attack looks pretty good. Don't need special attacks yet. You know what I think we need for combat? We need to be able to attack each other. That's pretty standard, right? And I want to create a mini game where I say, here's a number of enemies. Try to get from A to B without dying. That's a pretty good core little mini game that I can give to people and say, here's a little game to play. So player can attack enemies. Enemies can attack player. I think these two are critical next, and characters have hit points and can take damage. These three are super important for us to do next. And then in terms of damage received, can be modified by armor and modified by weapons. These are more advanced. We're nowhere near ready for that. That's going to be more in-depth. All we want to do is, as quickly as possible, this is our next step, is to make enemies that can hit us, and that we can hit enemies. And you know what? Probably as a stretch target, I'm going to ask Ben, can we make the enemies run at us as well? Let me see if my internet has recovered enough for me to put a new thing in there. So enemies can run at player. Because if they're just standing still, that doesn't really make for a very fun experience now, does it? So enemies can run at player. I'm just going to make a little note here. Put a flag on that saying this is what we're doing next. For you, you can write a sticky note. You can do it on a piece of paper next to you. You can have your big document. You can just keep it in your head, but keeping it in your head, you're going to forget about it. And we want to start creating some habits where you write things down and you give yourself a plan. And these are the 4 next major things we're working on. So time for you to put back on your programmer hat and over to Ben for some implementation.